Is the New World Order carefully rewriting history and orchestrating a false alien attack to unify all mankind under a centralized world government? Join us as we dive down the jackalope hole of Project Bluebeam.
This episode of Jackalopes Explore is brought to you by Sheridan Stationery Books and Gifts, located at 535 North Main Street in Sheridan. Stop by today to peruse books, stationery, gifts, sports cards, and more. Or visit us at SheridanStationeryBooks.com.
I'm Floyd Whiting.
Hey, I'm Aaron Linden.
I'm Steve Sisson.
And I'm Emmy Whiting.
And we are your jackalopes. In the 1970s and the 80s, a little-known journalist, poet, and essayist, Serge Monast, actually came up with a pretty crazy conspiracy theory that a new world order, the one centralized government, was orchestrating a unifying alien attack on the entire world. This goes pretty deep, and there's a lot more to it than just aliens. This deals with religion, and in a way, it kind of includes that Mandela effect that we're constantly talking about on this show. So, he published Project Bluebeam, i.e. NASA, in 1994, in which he detailed his claim that NASA of all organizations, with the help of the United Nations, was actually attempting to implement New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. That's a big, scary word right there, the Antichrist. All to establish a new world order via technologically simulated second coming of Christ. And he also gave talks on this subject. Now, I do want to say, before I kick it off to Aaron, who's really knowledgeable in this one.
He's shaking. He's ready.
He's ready. Yeah, he's ready to do it. But
just some of the mind control working on it.
Right, exactly.
I do want to say that cartoonist Christopher Knowles actually noted the similarities between Project Bluebeam to various plots of Gene Roddenberry's unreleased 1975 Star Trek movie treatment, The God Thing,
Yep.
and similarities to a 1991 Star Trek Next Generation episode called Devil's Due. So even before this Monast, I think is how you pronounce it, came forward and released all this, there were all these unpublished treatments that were out there that already kind of explored it. I do want to point that out, that, maybe it's a little bit of imagination. I don't buy into it, but Aaron, what do you think?
Oh, man.
So yeah,
Do you even have to ask?
Yeah, right? So Serge was a kind of a crazy cat, right? He was just an interesting dude, poet, all this stuff. And that's a good point. None of those were published. So you're kind of like, okay, how would he get a hold of Gene Roddenberry's stuff to even do this? So was it more of that ethereal, this is just out there, there's enough out there that something's happening that Star Trek guy takes advantage of it, Serge takes, I don't know, but that is one of the compelling things about the conspiracy is there's a lot of people thinking about this. They kind of had their pulse on some of these crazy sci-fi things. So he gets into it and basically illustrates out a 4-step process for this to take place. One is technology to create earthquakes, weather events, whatever, as kind of the starting of it.
This is the second coming of Christ, right? This is the beginning.
Nobody really knows what's going on, but there's all this cataclysmic weather and stuff happening, and what is it? And then the second step was basically a fake alien invasion to kind of unify everybody via holograms that are already loaded into the geosync satellites so that you could actually make different things appear in a lot of different places all at the same time.
And like in the sky, big stuff.
Huge stuff.
Like huge stuff.
And if you haven't looked at it, you go back and Google or go on YouTube and look up like Dubai holographs. And all of this stuff is post-production, right? I mean, they put it in and people look like they're supposed to be looking at this big whale in the sky. They're not seeing it, but that gives you a pretty good idea of what this could possibly
You could
look
create
like.
the image of it happening, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is if you create the image of it happening, even if you weren't there, but you see this thing happening. I mean,
That's
kinda,
the thing. It's like you believe what you see kind of deal.
and if it's on TikTok, it's got to be gospel, right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you harken back to 2020 or 2021, the Macy's parade was all holographs. It was trippy and it was stupid, but you could see how it could happen. So then the third step is to use tech to create a global religious event. Again, through holographs, whatever, but it could be very specific to, okay, here's, the second coming of Christ for Christians, here's Buddha. The third thing is tech to stage global religious events, and it can be very specific to, the second coming of Christ for Christians, Buddha for Buddhists, whatever for anybody. Same thing through holographs, whatever. And then the fourth being the implementation of the New World Order, because people will be begging the government essentially like, come save us, protect us. We don't care if we all have digital currency and whatever, just please make it go away. And so those are kind of the 4 steps that he outlined. But the craziest thing is if you look at some of the stuff that's going on right now, the current odd weather events, right? So earthquakes, a volcano in Iceland. There was a tornado in Wisconsin yesterday. And for those of us not paying attention, it's February. Right. It's the first time that's ever happened.
Yes,
There's some whacked out shit going on.
It could be just because we're killing our planet slowly, but
Well, yeah, so there's pictures of transmitter sites in Arizona where the towers are covered in ice and snow, which is unheard of as well.
And you look at what's going on. There's songs, right? It never rains in Southern California. Bullshit. Look at they're under like 8 feet of water right now.
Yeah.
So you've got that, and then the fake alien invasions. You've got the Chinese spy balloon, but the one that they shot down over Alaska. They were like, well, what was it? And they're like, well, we don't know. It wasn't the same thing.
Right.
Are you going to retrieve it? No. We don't have the ability to do that. I'm like, bullshit. You have Navy SEALs.
We already
and
went
mercs
in and
stuff.
we were able to recover almost humongous sections of a Russian submarine that it had sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And not only did we recover humongous sections of this thing, we did it secretly.
Right.
We were able
sneaky.
to do it covertly,
And
that's impressive.
we won't get into the whole Nord Stream 2.
I haven't seen them in person,
Oh, the
but there are
coordinated
massive
things?
drone
Yeah.
shows where you can, put like a dragon in the sky over in China. It's all just programmed drones.
Right.
You do it at night. Now let's take all that technology and apply things that we think are out there, but we don't know for sure. Okay. Even then, think about what a massive move this is. Okay, so let's look at the effects that it would actually have on a worldwide population. Number one, not all Christians are going to buy it when they see Jesus in the sky.
Right.
That's just going to show. And I think other religions are the exact same way.
And is it going to be white Jesus or is it going to be Middle East Jesus?
Here's the hard part about that, though.
yeah.
Well, I think doesn't he he says something about that, like it's going to be tailored to each.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, those people over in India, they're going to see something probably having to do with Hinduism in the sky, and they're going to think that their Messiah or their gods are returning.
And see, the thing I have about that, though, is that requires some sort of mind control or something.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that,
like
why
hypnotism, maybe?
Why even have the holograms? Why not
bother?
Just put it right into the brain?
That's another thing that because then you get into playing.
I was just going to say that I got from
yes. There are people out there who believe that all of this is linked. That
we
kind
all
of
have-
stuff.
It's fine.
It's all right.
So but think about the actual pandemonium that even just an event this big would create.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question on which government is supposed to be
Heading this up.
yes.
Well,
the
NASA's
United
kind of
Nations.
NASA's the head of it, but the UN, that's already the New World Order government anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, the United Nations is supposed to be the one kind of behind all this. Now, see, it's the entire concept is not outside of possibility, but it's not the idea of a new world order that's going to have absolute control over everyone and everything. It would be more like a United Nations. Maybe generations down the line, that might actually end up becoming a new world order. But whereas people are at right now, there is no way this would work, no matter the pandemonium.
Also,
no
we'd all
matter
be
the
dead.
pandemonium.
We'd all be dead before
And I think
anything
there's
took place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's a lot of like countries around the world that are 180 degrees out of phase with Western culture.
Absolutely.
Where religion is like runs everything. And I don't see how they would be conducive to getting any of this going, because that would totally destroy all the control they have.
Yeah.
And you're going to turn all that over to the New World Order government. I don't see that happening at all.
But see, then, right, as that New World Order government, you villainize those individuals. You find a way. It's just like what Nixon did with the war on drugs. There was no war on drugs. He needed hippies out of the goddamn way so that he could have his way in Vietnam. So you associate marijuana with hippies. You associate...
Everyone's too chill.
Yeah, you associate cocaine with, the black community in the United States, and then you just allow your police to do whatever the hell they want.
Rich white men with cocaine, right?
This is exactly what This is exactly what Nixon did with the war on drugs. You could do that on a world scale. You could find a way to do that, and just think about all of the hatred that came after 9/11.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All of the Muslim hate. It didn't matter even if you were Muslim. Okay? I've seen it myself. People from Pakistan, people from India, they were catching hell just because they happen to have like headdresses that were made out of cloth. It didn't matter that it has nothing to do with the Muslim religion.
You're
It
a
didn't
person
matter.
of color with a headscarf on. They automatically assume something.
Yeah,
and
and
it's
these people are
horrible.
running around. You're from a country in the desert. You have dark skin. Yep, I'm going to hate you. That's it. Bottom line. And that still goes on to this day.
It does.
If
100%.
you
and it's
create an
horrible.
event that hurts enough of one tribe and blame it on another tribe, we'll have a war.
And the end game though is basically, isn't there something about like removing the whole family structure as well?
Yes, you destroy
in
the family structure so that the government can control the children. Something that we've said on this show multiple times. I don't care about the seniors. I don't care about people in their 30s.
Right.
I
Yeah.
want the kids.
Yeah, because that's the future.
There
They're
has
the ones
been-
who are going to make the new world.
I think it's gonna be interesting though if that would ever happen, just because of the tribal nature of humans. That's a pretty big shift in just the nature of humanity to get that to actually succeed. It would be very difficult, I think.
Yeah, because there's just a chemical need for, parents and their children to be together.
I
And
honestly
trying-
believe that too.
And
And we all have
trying
our
to tear
teams.
that apart.
We all have our teams, we're Coke, Pepsi, Ford, Chevy, different NFL teams,
Yeah.
Democrat, Republican. It's all of that is part of our, way back into the very beginnings of human culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you divide this whole place up into 13 districts, now you just got districts fighting against each
Yeah,
other. Because
exactly.
now my flag's different than your
Again,
flag.
have you watched The Hunger Games?
Right, yeah, well, yeah. If we really look at the evolution of where mankind eventually has to end up so that we can explore the stars, it's a one world government.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Eventually, we will have to come together as a planet and not a country on that planet.
The planet will be on fire before that happens.
I imagine it probably. Yeah, I
think
agree
that's
with
the more
you.
likely
I agree with you.
scenario. Yeah.
Yes.
But eventually, I think the evolution of society itself is eventually headed that way. And I only have one issue with that. My only issue is if a new world order government that controls everything suddenly takes over, then contracts of former governments are null and void. The Constitution that I've sworn fealty to, that countless individuals have sworn fealty to, is done, which means the Bill of Rights is done. You don't have the same contract as a citizen of this nation with that government. Who's writing the new contract? Is it the rich families who are saying, you know what, I just need a lot of workers, a lot of workers?
Well, then all that means is that we should be the ones like America running the New World Order, right? I mean,
Well, I think here's the issue with a lot of governments around the world and everybody believing that the United States is the most free country. things have changed since 1776. There's a lot of
What?
freedom. Yeah. Believe it or not. Believe it or not.
This
Do
is
we have a
news.
news flash thing that we can
Yeah.
throw up on the
Not
screen?
according to some people. It
Now,
hasn't.
here's my deal. I'm not saying that the United States isn't the greatest country in the world, because it is. All right? It's idea of freedom. It's idea of a citizen being able to come here and build and be who or whatever she wants. Then that's fantastic. But that is also applied in other nations around the world now. We're not all underneath monarchs and patriarchies and things like that, as much as people think. We hear about the squeaky wheels, right? Because they're the ones that get the grease. So they get all the attention. People are being oppressed. We hear about it on the news. The United States is going over here to free this country or impose democracy here, because that's what's relevant in the news today. We don't hear about countries that basically are super free, crime free very often, i.e. a lot of the Scandinavian northern
Right.
countries.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you would think that nothing is going on there, when the fact of the matter is they've just got pretty good laws and they're very free.
Well, what you hear about the Scandinavian countries is they always get brought up as being socialist.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
actually, they're more capitalist than the U.S. is. They just use all that capitalism to fund a lot of social programs.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't. Okay, so they don't let their rich people get away with not paying taxes.
And
is
there's less
essentially
corruption
it.
in all that.
Do
Yeah.
you know that I make barely any money and I have to pay almost $300 this year?
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah. And where does it all go?
who
Ukraine.
else is getting taxed? I need to know who's not
It's funding
paying
Project
their
Bluebeam.
Well.
share.
Churches primarily.
So, but in every good conspiracy theory, you have to have your tropes, right? I mean,
Yes.
you just have to.
Yes.
And one of my favorites about this is, so Serge gains all this popularity for bringing out Project Bluebeam, and he's giving lectures, and he's doing all this stuff. He gives the biggest lecture that he's ever given to the biggest crowd of people that he's ever given it to, and then he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his, some say in his hotel room, some say in his house, from an apparent heart attack.
1996.
How old was he?
Something like that.
He was pretty old.
So a heart attack is completely plausible.
Absolutely.
No.
No,
Absolutely.
because that never happens. Yeah.
That's not as fun.
He had to get Arkansas. He had to, because he was bringing out too much information.
Well, I think you're hitting on a lot of this, though. Like you mentioned, like it's all the unprecedented weather things and all that could also be, there is a scientific explanation for that.
Absolutely.
And you got to look at things like, you know, doomsayers from the Bible, right? Revelations.
The end is near.
Yeah, the one great thing about religion that they figured out pretty early on is if you deny what I'm telling you, then you're under control by the evil presence that is in the world, right? Like, so if you don't agree with me, then you are part of the problem. You just don't realize it yet.
Well, so here's what I don't understand about this whole thing, though, is, okay, so you have this global religious event, and the spearhead of it is the Antichrist. Like,
Yeah,
well,
because the
that's
whole point of
because
that-
it's foretold in the major religious texts of the world outside
Right. Yeah.
of, okay, it's all Judeo-Christian, Muslim,
Right.
right, and there's enough of them in the world that if I can control them, I got it.
Isn't there something else in there, though? Like the whole point of that is supposed to be like, well, all your religions were wrong.
Right.
You know, all this, we're discovering all this new proof now that invalidates all of that.
Right. But I'm like, if wouldn't it be easier to try and maybe, I don't know, unify everybody under something else than to say, oh, see, devil's here. You guys were all wrong. So now we got to go this way.
Well, like I said before, I think if you have the mind control, why not just go straight to that
Yeah.
instead of putting on the big show?
Yeah,
Because you don't
exactly.
need the big show.
Well,
Think about the
we've
amount-
spent a lot of money for the
right.
big show, Steve. We have to have the big show.
Sodium layers up there. We need to project something on it.
But once you reach a certain point, money shouldn't count.
Well,
Right?
I think
like
isn't
if I
there-
control the whole world and the
But that's the
economy,
thing.
then I don't need to pay for
We're
shit.
we're never getting to the point where money doesn't matter.
No, but I'm saying
Right.
like as a leader, as if the new world order was real and they're controlling the economies, then it doesn't matter the amount of money that I'm spending on a show. I control the economy.
Yeah.
right.
You control the show.
I control the show. I control all of it. So I'm not spending a dime because everybody, including the banks, the reserves, all of it work for me. So I look at them and I say, by the way,
But
you're not charging me for
that's
this.
more of a dictatorship than anything.
That's what the New World Order is
That's right, it
supposed
is,
to
yeah.
be, except instead of one individual being the person where it's coming from, it's supposed to be like a committee.
Now, the
right?
one thing I didn't understand about the whole show is I think it's supposed to be like a global event, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's supposed to be able to see it, but it's projected onto the sodium layer, which
From chemtrails.
means half the world isn't going to see it.
Yeah.
You can't do it all at the same time, so who gets the show?
Yeah.
That's not specified in there.
Well, and you could just do it at different points during the day.
Yeah,
in
you'd
a
have to- you'd have to
24-hour period on this planet.
Yeah, you'd have to start somewhere. Who
You
who
can
gets
start, and if I'm okay, we're going to focus on Christianity in this region.
Yeah.
We're going to focus on the Muslim religion in this region.
Well, I'd say by the time the show is going in the first place, it's going to be around the world as news anyway.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the real thing about this is back when he came out with this, we didn't have social media.
Yeah.
We didn't even really have the interwebs. And now you put something, I project something into the sky over Sheridan, Wyoming, right? Everyone is filming it. And
Riots
everyone
in the
around
streets.
the world
Yeah.
has seen it. And you
Before
don't
it
even
could actually
necessarily
get out
have to have the big show everywhere anymore.
Right.
You project it in what? Do it over L.A. and New York. Done.
There's enough cameras out there that'll capture it.
So the
It'll go
show
everywhere.
we're talking about is the Antichrist, or
Yes.
what?
Yes,
'Cause
the arrival
here-
of the Antichrist, so that we can enter into a period of war and famine and disease and horrible worldwide weather events, so that
we're
everything
not
is
there
so
yet.
bad.
Yeah.
Everything is so bad that as this rages on, anyone stepping forward will be able to gain control. And they're going to make sure that they're the ones who step forward and say, are you guys sick of this peace? Are you sick of starving? Well, guess
We're
what?
gonna fix it.
We're here to fix it. And then everyone will agree. That's been done in the past. That is a viable technique to take over an entire nation.
The scariest phrase ever. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I mean, you got to acknowledge the fact that that works. All I got to do is spark a little bit of fear, buddy. A little bit of fear, and you hit the right people.
It works to a
Let
point,
it go.
though, because
Right.
I mean, you've seen how the people in France will riot in the streets, and that's the point it would get to.
And it works if you
mean,
have an enemy
chaos.
to blame for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does it work on a global scale? I don't know.
Well,
And
but
that's why
where
you
the-
have an alien
That's
invasion.
where the
Yeah.
aliens come in, because that unifies everybody. And it kind of goes back to that Reagan speech that we talked about, where he's like, we need an outside force to unify.
It would
the
take
world.
more than holograms of aliens to make that happen,
Yes.
though.
Oh, no, they'd have to actually drop some bombs and
Yeah.
do some things to make it look like there was an actual alien invasion, for sure.
And again, I truly think people are smarter than just to think, oh, they'll show up and fly in the sky, and then we'll be, then we'll all be happy and holding hands in peace and love. It's like, no, that's not going to actually happen.
Okay, so let's talk about step 4. Okay,
Step 4.
the end step. It
I
actually,
like step 4.
from what I learned, from what I found, it actually has 3 parts to it. So, step 4. What was step 4, Aaron?
Step 4 is the implementation of a new world order, and that would then have people begging for the government to protect them and unify under one authoritarian regime.
All right, step 4. 4.1. Making humanity think an alien invasion is about to occur at every major city. Okay, the Independence Day scenario.
Right.
4.2. Making the Christians believe that the rapture is about to happen. 4.3, a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coax power, and telephone lines to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances that will, by then, all have special microchips installed within them to help facilitate this. So, because we have social media and cell phones in our pockets, when one event goes down, it's all going down together because we all get the same thing fed to us at the exact same time. The goal of this deals with a global satanic ghost projected all around the world in order to push all populations to the edge of hysteria and madness, to drown them into a wave of suicide, murder, and psychological disorders. After what's called the Night of 1,000 Stars, worldwide populations will be ready for the new Messiah to establish world order and peace at any cost, even at the cost of their own freedom. Now, we have seen that in the past. I want to say that. People will give up freedoms for security so freaking fast, but then chaos is going to break out, and people will finally be willing, perhaps even desperate, to accept the new world order. All people will be required to take an oath to Lucifer with a ritual initiation.
I already took that oath.
to enter into this new world order. Now, they've decided that the resistors will be classified. They'll be categorized as one of two things. Christians, number one, Christian children will be kept for human sacrifice or as sexual slaves. Number two, prisoners of anyone who's resisting this will be categorized either as the Christians to develop children for slavery or to be used in medical experiments. I always love that. You know, they're like, medical experiments. What kind of medical experiments are we talking about?
Well, and here's the other thing. Isn't all of medicine an experiment? And
Yeah,
they're all
absolutely.
practice?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's step 4, and how everything's going to be implemented. You know, they want you to believe that these camps are out there, that we're all going to be ushered in, because that is like the most horrendous thought that we can have, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
Like a global Holocaust in a way, right?
No, that's what DIA was built for.
They're going to segregate, they're going to murder, they're going to line us all up on walls and shoot us down. What would that take? I really want you to think of it. Even Japan during World War II did not invade the United States because every citizen had a gun and they knew it. I can't control these people. COVID taught us what? You can't control these people. There are going to be people
To the detriment sometimes.
to fight against every single little thing that comes down the pike from the government.
Well, and think about like atheists seeing the coming of the Antichrist. They're not going to be persuaded
Yeah.
because they don't buy it anyway.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
you've got to have the mind control that like somehow converts them or makes them irrelevant or just gets rid of them somehow.
And you're going to have soldiers. You're going to have soldiers that have already sworn fealty to this entire thing to enforce all of this.
Right.
Who's putting me in that camp? Who's coming to do this? Not an American soldier. They've taken an oath to the Constitution of the United States, not to a leader, not to anybody but that document. And the minute you give me an order that is unlawful, I am told, literally ordered, to disobey unlawful orders.
Yeah.
If
Obey and disobey the order.
obey the order
Right.
of disobeying unlawful orders.
Because you're protecting the Constitution.
Exactly,
correct.
because you're protecting the Constitution and the principles behind it. So who are these people who are going to come and just wrangle us all into these camps?
But this is where I
And
kind
the
of
amount of people you'd
Well,
need for
yeah.
that.
Oh, huge.
But this is kind of where I go off on another tangent of what if it's not us? What if we are the New World Order? We don't know it, but America overall just goes, oh man, we can control those tribes down in the Congo. We can control those tribes. We can do all of these things to amass the power that we need to just basically take over the rest of the globe.
I see what
So
you're saying.
here's the thing, though. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
No,
That's-
No.
totally agree. Totally agree.
But that's what it's always kind of been about, is taking over everything. You want to control all of it.
And I'm not even sure if we can, though, because you look at like Iraq, Iran, India, those kind of places aren't going to be on board with the American agenda.
No.
So I don't know how you would. I mean, that's a significant portion of the world there.
Think about
Yeah.
the Chinese population.
Right. But
They're-
that's the thing, though, too, is you get out into, you look at America. We have rural areas, but we don't have rural areas where the belief system is thousands of years old. We're pretty much all on par with everything. You get into places like China, Indonesia, Myanmar.
well, there are
places
huge
like that.
cultural differences that
Huge.
come from
And you
years of them being there and
right,
their
but you
beliefs.
project something into the sky over a tribe in Papua New Guinea that has barely ever seen an airplane go over, they're going to believe that crap.
Right.
So it's also that cultural and global, where is this going to take place? And we always kind of selfishly and egotistically go, well, it's about us, isn't it?
Right.
No, I don't know that it is.
Yeah.
I think it could be about a lot of other places that if we get a stronghold there, we've got everybody surrounded.
So, think about what would you even project above China? Because they don't have like a religion. They follow Confucius, his wisdom and ideals. And that has basically formed the entire society that they have. And Confucius was nothing more than a rice counter. He was just really smart about how he ran economies and kept track of money and figuring out mathematics. He was brilliant. And so they use Confucianism to found the government that they have now, which, of course, communist. Are they communists or social? I think they're socialist, aren't they? They're not
They're communists.
They're communists.
They're communist.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but what are you going to project over top of these billions of individuals who now have become one of the strongest military presences in the world?
What scares them the most? What's the equivalent of like a devil for Confucianism? Whatever that is, project it.
It doesn't being broke. Nothing.
Okay.
Like nothing.
It's just money burning
I
in
mean,
the sky.
See, that's the thing. It's not a religion.
I think we would have to ask people from China. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we
What
can't,
would you be afraid of?
What are you the most scared
all
of?
can't speak on this because it's like we don't know.
I agree.
Yeah,
But
we don't know.
my idea, or what I'm trying to say is Confucianism is not a religion. It's an ideology.
It's kind of the same problem we have with like atheists here. Projecting anything like that is not going to persuade them.
No, I would look up there and I'd be like, what is this load?
I'd be like, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Honest to God.
Never could get the hang of Tuesdays.
I will tell you this: if they don't kick off Project Bluebeam pretty quick, nobody's going to fall for it because they'll just be like, "Man, whatever."
Right? Yeah, they're becoming desensitized to all that stuff.
And now we're talking about it. Everybody's going to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we've had it the whole thing now.
We let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, it's us.
There was a
We
Gallup.
talked about it first.
There was a Gallup poll that they took not very long ago, and they found that at the rate that it's going, the Christian religion will probably be pretty close to being, not involved in anything by 2070, and that's a lot sooner than what I thought. But these new generations, and whether that's that famous country music singer Jelly Roll, I think kind of said it best when he said, "Well, a lot of
Is that an actual name?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he was he's a big deal.
He's a award
Jelly
winner.
roll.
He came forward and
That's so
said,
cute.
all these church leaders are not actually following what Jesus said, and because of that, these new generations are like, well, I'm not in.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not doing that. Look how hypocritical you guys are. I
Yeah.
want nothing to do with that. And it's fighting against the religion itself. You got these mega church guys running around asking people to pay for their private jets. These kids who can't even make rent, they're not down for that anymore. It's not working.
Wow. I just never thought I would hear Confucius and Jelly Roll put together.
They have more in common than you think.
Look, man, wisdom is
We're
wisdom.
projecting
is wisdom.
Jelly Roll
Okay.
into the sky.
Doesn't matter how it's packaged.
Wisdom is wisdom.
Jelly Roll is a wise man. He's had his life.
He really has.
He's had his experiences.
Yeah.
It just makes me think of food.
He's just he's a big cuddly guy.
And I think he was
Jelly
like
Roll.
he's the he was best new artist of the year. something
CMAs,
like that.
yeah.
CMAs, yeah.
And then he broke his award right after that.
I know, yeah.
Oh, poor
But I
guy.
loved his acceptance speech. If you guys YouTube that, it's one of the most beautiful acceptance speeches I've
Confucius
ever
and
seen.
Jelly Roll.
I-
Just like that.
Great. But anyway, getting back to
like peanut butter and Jelly Roll.
Getting back to making humanity think an alien invasion is about to happen. That I can see happening, okay? Because we've talked about this on this show multiple times about how all this evidence is literally outpouring. My issue is this. This evidence has been being compiled since the 1950s. So when I look at old videos, I'm like, well, the government spent so much time denying the existence of aliens that I don't see them being the ones that are actually causing this,
Right.
that they want to feed into this pandemonium.
And based on this theory, all of that stuff was just testing it's all been run by the government. So that means that the aliens aren't real.
Right.
Because the whole thing's just a big show, and these are just like the little dress rehearsal things for it.
Yeah.
But plausible deniability, you create the craft, you fly them around, you go, no, that doesn't exist, you tinfoil hat wearing weirdo, and then you make it happen.
But that means Travis Larson was full of it then.
Right. Travis Walton.
Walton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But who knows? I mean, that's the thing is the government is so naughty. And so, they come out with these conspiracies, then they deny them, and then they're like, no, it's totally true. Pay attention to the aliens.
I'm just saying, for me, Project Bluebeam is, there may be some aspects of mind control, of crowd control, but it's not in the way that people think. It may be experiments on how do I calm down a population really fast? How do I quell a rebellion? How do I stop that protest group from becoming violent? So those type of social, psychological experiments are taking place.
Oh, absolutely.
That I can almost guarantee.
Well, here's the thing. We have all lived it because we all did the whole 2 weeks to slow the curve thing, flatten the curve. And that, I mean, you want to talk about control on a global level. That was it. I mean, that was a pretty good test run for a lot of countries.
And it didn't
New
go
World
well.
Order.
Yeah, I was going to say, what they learned from that is that it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a lot of videos of Karens during that time.
Right.
You are not controlling a middle-aged white woman. There is no way.
So
Absolutely.
if you want the truth, if you want a one world government, if you want to impose this kind of thing, then you forego anyone over the age of 21. They're lost. They will never follow the doctrine that I need to impart on an entire global population. So what I would do is play it smart. Instead of wasting all this money and all these resources trying to fake a big global invasion or fake a rapture, I change the books. I slowly start to indoctrinate public school systems, and then I get that major population to believe what I want them to believe. Oh, yeah, your parents are going to scream. They're going to be upset. They're going to be like, well, it wasn't like this when I was a kid. Common Core math. Common Core math is a perfect example. When the hell did we have to reinvent mathematics?
I completely agree. I've seen videos of it. I'm like,
I've had to live through it with kids where
I
I'm
couldn't
like,
understand it before.
Yeah.
And here I am now.
here's how we divide
It's
stuff. And they're
worse.
like, no, it's not. What?
But see, now what do we got? My daughter's generation knows Common Core math. I sat there and said, well, that's not the way you do that. Well, that's the way they want me to do it, so I have to do it this way.
Right.
Okay, there you go. Step one. I've managed to change math.
Did you
Math.
bring your circle diagram?
I didn't. I
The
should.
universal
I should've.
language is mathematics.
Exactly. So I change one thing. Now I know I can get it changed in a generation. The next generation, I change something else.
Okay, so he didn't bring the diagram, but he was like, I'm going to show this to everyone. And he shows
the circle
me,
diagram.
Yeah,
The
he
circle
shows me
diagram,
two
yes.
circles, and he's like, one of these circles is bigger. And like looking at it, I was like, I don't think so. But
Yeah.
then he has, he's like, well, which one's bigger? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe that one. He's like, well, they're both the same size.
It's like, that's what I said all along.
Yeah. And I was like, well, what is this? And he's like, well, why'd you think one was bigger? I was like, because you're my husband and I trust you. I didn't know that was a crime.
But you
But it
won't
works.
anymore.
It works.
Now there's no trust
The
in
trust has been broken.
I think that experiment might work better in like an educational setting where you've got the authority figure like the teacher that comes out and proclaims as a fact that these circles
That's
are different.
actually where I got
That
it. Was
probably-
a teacher. A
yeah.
teacher walked out, had two circles. One was red, one was white. And he said, which one of these is bigger? If you think the white one's bigger, raise your hand. If you think the red one's bigger, raise your hand. Everyone in class raised their hand for one or the other. Not one of them stopped to say, Doc, they look the same.
But I
to
think
me."
you did that with us and none of us.
I know.
Yeah.
But
So-
I'm not.
But we're also here.
Yes, yeah. So is it just because we're insane?
We're the we question everything
Yeah,
crowd.
yeah. Or was it in the way it was presented? Was it the environment in which it was presented? Why didn't it work with us?
It didn't work with you guys because you guys know me.
And we don't trust you at all
Right?
anyway.
No, hang on. You knew that there was something behind that.
There was an
The
angle.
second
yeah.
I showed it to you, you guys knew Floyd's got something going on here. Now, if I was a teacher,
He's
and
a
you
little prankster.
yeah, and you guys walked into my classroom, and the first morning lesson I bring up on the screen are these two circles, and I'm like, we're going to run an experiment. I want to know which one of these is bigger.
And if you put it like on a vote for the one that you think's biggest and it's pass-fail, they're going to raise their hand.
Well, and I think if I never introduce the idea that they're the same size.
That's the thing. You have to present it, like introduce it as one of these circles is bigger than the other. You have to introduce it with that frame of mind, and then after that.
And you will go against your gut.
But there is also a lot of difference between the new generation versus even my generation, because kids are questioning more. They don't, because I did this generational training for this management thing I did, and kids are going to question more. They want a purpose. They want to know why. They're not just going to follow blindly. That's just not the way it is anymore.
You can see it generationally, like in how easily older generations fall for things on social media, like bad photoshops and stuff like that.
Or phishing scams.
Yeah, phishing scams. The younger generations grew up with deep fakes and things like that. They automatically don't trust anything that they see. Older generations, if it's a picture or a video, it's got to be real.
So do you think then, based on that, like, okay, so Project Bluebeam, mid-'80s, if they would have actually been able to execute at that point, man, it probably would have worked really well.
Yes.
You fast forward to 2024 and everybody's like, holograms in this guy. You know, like, it's past its prime.
In 1994, it was probably already towards the end of that becoming plausible.
Yeah.
So now what do you do? Okay, because yes, these kids are questioning, except when someone big starts something on one of these TikToks.
Watch Taylor Swift.
And all of a sudden,
Taylor Swift is part of it.
Super Bowl Sunday, something's going to happen.
And all of a sudden, everybody wants to follow suit.
When is Super Bowl Sunday?
This coming Sunday.
There we go. I'm waiting for the commercials.
No, it's Taylor Swift Sunday.
It's
okay.
Super Swift
so
Sunday.
I know we're
people
getting
mad.
a little bit off subject, but not really, because she's a whole conspiracy in and among her own.
No, the only
self.
reason she's a conspiracy is because a certain news network has nothing else to report on except absolute goddamn nonsense.
That's horrible. Anyway,
Taylor Swift is not a
new
government
TMZ.
implant, for God's sake.
Or is she?
But they're actually thinking about running. You know, you can track Santa on NORAD during Christmas. Because she's going to be in Japan and trying to get back to see her sweetie play in the big game, that they're going to maybe track her jet via NORAD to make sure she can make it.
Really
like,
uncomfortable.
Does anyone give two shits?
Only the Swifties, man.
Well, and this
Only
is
the
the thing.
Swifties.
It's so uncomfortable. She's still a person and should be allowed to have privacy. This
She has
is
to
so
send out a decoy jet.
weird.
And then come in on a... They do that with her shows. She comes in like a little janitor's cart.
Yeah,
They
I've
wheel
seen
the
her
janitor's cart in, and then that's how she's hidden, so people aren't like accosting her as she's trying to get onto the stage.
Wow.
You know, I tell you what, man.
Just horrifying. I don't know.
I would not want fame at that level.
No.
Holy crap.
No, not like
way.
that.
What a horrible life.
I mean, this is enough.
You said it.
That one paparazzi that I cannot get away from.
I will get a picture of you.
But I think
The only people that follow us are the lizard people. They're the ones who are running
Right.
around behind us.
But that's the thing of this.
Doing a little
After I
tongue.
kind of went through all of this, is I'm like, man, this would have been really cool in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Cool.
I mean, yeah.
Well, it would have worked.
It
In
would've
the
worked.
Floyd Whiting end of humanity way of cool.
It was more, yeah. In a blink and everything's over kind of way.
Right.
There you go. We're back to that now.
It's not
aren't we?
bad.
But now,
Come on.
it gets to that thing that we've all talked about several times, where we see the videos of the portals, or we see and we go, man, that looks AI, or
Yeah.
that's just fake, or if Project Bluebeam, if you're out there and you're the head of Project Bluebeam, you
gotta step it up.
Yeah, you gotta come up with Plan B, because it's past its prime. Because now everybody does question everything they see. You get the new Google phone or whatever, where you're like, oh, I don't like the way Floyd looks in this picture, and I can turn your head and make you smile.
Yep.
I'm like, what's the point of freaking photos anymore then?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that kind of stuff, everybody's like, this isn't real. So you go outside right now and you see a big alien spacecraft in the sky. You go, okay. And it doesn't really matter.
Well, again, it's one of those things. Do I have to go to work tomorrow still?
Right, yeah. What does this mean for
so,
dinner tonight?
I do not care.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
And I can tell you,
That's
working
the way
in
I
the
live
news,
my life.
And you and
working
many
in the
others.
news has taught me that as a news person, it is harder to convince somebody that something is a fact than anything else. You know, where it's like, look, yes, this person did say that, and they meant it in this context. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. Someone out there, especially if you delve into the world of politics, it is literally their job to spin and destroy and disintegrate every single thing that you say so that they can make it match the narrative that they want to project so that they can achieve their agenda.
Yeah.
That's all this is. It is no longer about, is it real or not? It is about, how many people can I get to believe it's real?
And that is, so the scary thing to me is that, like we talked about, we kind of circle back to, like, you know, tribes in the Amazon or whatever, they might super believe it. But we have enough people running around the United States that shoot at hurricanes and stuff. So there's going to be enough people that it's not the Project Bluebeam I worry about. It's the people that are believing in the Project Bluebeam that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
And that's where
I think that's
the
a
tough
valid
stuff.
point.
Yeah.
Look at the horrible crap that QAnon actually started and ended up someone actually using violence. They inspired someone who believed that Pizzagate was happening to go actually hurt people.
Well, and just even, 2020, you go to the stores and the shelves are empty. I mean, people were walking out with carts full of rice, like carts. Like, I don't care about anybody else. I care about me, which I totally am down for. I get that. Take care of yourself first. But it just shows that humanity is not ready for an event like that. And I think that that's what they were really counting on. But anymore, you're going to have your weird sects of society that are going to go out and do crazy crap. But for the most part, most of us, I think right now, are going to be like, okay.
So if Project Bluebeam was an actual thing in 1994, it probably isn't anymore. They've gone on to a different plan.
They would have to.
Right.
They would absolutely have to.
They have to adjust with the times.
And you would have to get rid of the majority of the population.
Which is what they want to do anyway.
You would have to. Now, I think there was actually a memorandum that was given to Nixon. I can't remember the number of it, so I'm not going to say. But this memorandum spoke about the population cap that actually had to take place in the United States, where they said, look, Mr. President, this is how much we can actually support. If we exceed this, we're in a lot of trouble. And just that one little, and as far as we know, that was nothing more than a study. That was somebody sitting in there going, wait a minute, so the population's kind of going crazy, right? How many people can we actually feed in this country? How many people can our economy actually support? I'm curious. Do me a favor and go check that out. You take one little piece of information like that, where someone did a study. They actually went and found this information out.
He just went to the Georgia Guidestones and read off of them.
Yeah, exactly. and then you take that one little memorandum, and how many conspiracies have been set off as somebody just going, just out of curiosity, Jim.
Right.
What can we do? Well, now it's official. We can support this many people for this long. And all of a sudden, conspiracy theories are born. This idea of Project Bluebeam, like you said, Steve, if it was something at one time, it was an idea. More than likely, somebody sitting in there heard Reagan say, you know what, he's right. The only way we're going to be able to do this is if we fake this attack. I mean, good God, they made movies and comic books and graphic novels off of the entire idea. This is nothing new. The New World Order would not have the resources to control that many people over that large of an area. It's just not feasible right now. I'm not saying that we won't get there. We have to. If we want to leave this planet, we're all going to have to do it together. If we want to save this planet, we're all going to have to do it together. But right now, what we've got going on, there's no way anyone is going to support this. Not one country would stand up and be like, I'll go first. No, because we all, as nations, are too selfish.
Absolutely.
As long as I'm in charge, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
As long as I can say
exactly.
what's going on, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Just like Aaron said, the United States would have to be the one in charge for me to go, yeah, okay. But other than that, no way. Plus, what kind of economy are we going to have?
There won't be any.
Because you've got starving nations in Africa. Well, if we're a one world government, I'm not going to let a nation starve in Africa. Well, who am I going to take from? Okay, is that a socialist or a communist economy that we're going to come out with then? And how many people are going to go, I'm down for that?
Right, yeah.
America, it's not going to work. It would not work. And even if it did work, it would, think about the tribulation that would happen. The rebellions that would be sparked.
But I think that's what they're counting on.
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, how better to control the population than we got to go to war with these aliens? Well, I'm not going to war with the aliens. Okay, then I'm going to war with you, and whack each other until you get it down to something sizable enough that you can control it all.
Which would be a long period of time.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking like decades.
Generations.
Probably. Yeah.
Generations, man.
Yeah.
So
and by that time, the people that are in charge are dead and gone and replaced by somebody else.
who has a different idea.
Right.
It's you play the long game in big conspiracies like this. The amount of resources and the people who have to play along is just too much. Somebody saw the unification of nations with the UN. They didn't like it. Mm-hmm. They don't like the idea of that. So they start building these conspiracies because I don't like them. They're obviously doing something wrong and they're hiding more that they're doing wrong. So I'm going to start a rumor.
Yeah.
The United Nations has done more for this planet than any one government alone. Okay. It was designed to literally stop things like what happened in Germany from happening again, where we could all come together and say, as a world, we disagree with the way that you're treating your citizens, and we're going to step in. It is needed. It is necessary. It is not trying to dominate the entire world. There's too many. Have you watched the United Nations?
Right.
They don't get along. They don't agree on anything.
Yeah.
That place is a massive building of arguments and not hatred, but like disagreements and arguments all the time. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that is all I've got to say about that.
And that's all I have to say about
That's
that.
all I got to say about that.
Count the amount of minutes that Taylor Swift is on the Super Bowl. How many? A minute and a half.
Oh, you want an estimation?
Yeah. How long is she going to be on camera?
Less than a minute.
No, I'm going 3 to 5 minute total.
I'm going 6 minute total.
No. I'm going to say, you said less than a minute?
Less than a minute.
I'll go with a minute and a half.
It's like Price is Right.
We're gonna listen back to this. Everyone put in $1.
Yep, everybody throw it into the pot.
Well, there's a couple reasons. Number
Scratchy
one,
pot.
I think the NFL has heard enough from its the fans that are all pissed off about this. Which why would you be? Who cares? But they're all mad about it. If I heard somebody actually say, if you actually watch a football game for like 3 hours, you get a grand total of like 18 actual minutes of football.
If even that. Yeah.
If even
Yeah.
that. So,
of actual action. Yeah.
There's a lot going on, man.
I will not be watching.
You don't watch football just
The
for
Super
the
Bowl.
football.
You watch it for Taylor Swift.
I will ask though. Does anyone know who the halftime performance is? Because I have not heard.
It's Usher.
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 Usher, you have to say
I like Usher.
Usher, yeah.
because that's how Ludacris says it.
I like Usher.
I think it'll be a good show, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have their critics. He's going to get up there, and even if he gives a banging freaking
Every
show, man,
single
everyone's going to hate on him.
performance.
I think maybe
for the Super Bowl is like that.
Maybe next week we all review the halftime show and then bring all the conspiracy theories
Oh my gosh,
and
that would be
Satanism
amazing.
from it to the show.
Oh, yeah. Now, there's an
Because
idea.
that would be
That's
fun.
actually a really good idea
Yeah.
because I'll bet,
Oh, there's going to
so
be
many.
symbol.
Yeah.
Oh man,
The symbols in every one of them. Yeah, I've read all those.
100%. That's next week's show.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I
awesome.
think that would be a lot of fun.
I love that.
All right. You've been watching the Jackalopes Explore. God save the Illuminati.